go along.
Yeah.
We have some yesterday's charts, and we'll try to get back to it again. Yesterday's sugya was about sota. Just to chazar over a little bit what we did yesterday. And Gemara spoke about the member of Rav that said tzara sota asura. The Gemara came out that he means sota vada, not what we usually call a sota. Usually what's called a sota is a woman who was warned by her husband not to have seclusion with a certain man that he was choshed, and she did. She had seclusion with him. The witnesses that say that she was seclusion with him, but we don't know if she had relations, and that's what a regular sota means. But here the Gemara means a sota vada, that we know for sure the Eidim that she had relations, and she's a married woman, so she becomes just to her husband. And he says that there's no din of yibum or chalitza to the live brother. Again, a man had a wife. He had two wives even, and one of the wives was Mizana, and he died. And now the question is about falling to yibum to the brother. So we said no, there's no yibum. There's no yibum, not to her. No yibum, no chalitza, not to her, not to the tzara. Everything is off. The reason is because it says tuma. There's going to be it says the word tuma by a sota vadai, when a woman was mazana for sure, so it calls her tameh, and that's a drasha to learn by Arais. We said by Arais there's no yibum at all. The whole thing is broken, and therefore there's no din yibum or chalitza, not to her co-wife. Tomorrow I had a question from a case of a sota drabanan. The Gemara calls it in the case where she didn't mean to have relations out of marriage, but she thought that her husband died. She had good reason to think so, but not good enough. And but she's considered an onus minadin, and she's not really also to her husband. That's called the sota drabanan. Over there it says that there is chalitza. The next Gemara talks about a sota suffix, which is the regular term of a suffix of a sota. That it means that we're not sure if she had relations out of marriage, but sota suffix. That regular sota we call this a sota suffix, and it said over there is chalitza. And again, Rav said that I only said by a sota vadai. That's what comes out, that by a sota vadai there's no yibum at all. By a sota suffix, that then there is chalitza. There's no yibum, but there is chalitza. The Gemara goes on to talk about. The Gemara goes into a subject which we're going to open up the subject today. It sounds like it's coming in only as a side issue, but really it's going to become the main issue soon, and that's called machzik mushasa, which means that once a man divorces his wife, if she marries somebody else, he's not allowed to take her back anymore. If she doesn't marry, he's allowed to take her back. But if he divorced her and she married somebody else, he can't take her back. The Gemara brings the pasuk. That's the pasuk in the Torah at in Parshas Kiseitze. I think we'll be using the pasuk. So over there the pasuk says, once she had relations with another man, so she's called defiled. She's called defiled as far as the first person is called. She didn't do any avera. She got divorced and she married somebody else. But as far as the first husband is concerned, that's called a kind of a defilement, and he can't take her back anymore.
Defilement for him, for the first husband.
Yes, and here the Gemara is calling it that also as far as the brother. Also, the brother cannot marry her anymore. That's because the whole relation that the brother has, the live brother, is only through the dead brother. And since that was considered tumah, so therefore, we're getting off the subject a little bit. I'm sorry. The Gemara. I'm sorry. What we just said now is going to be back onto the Gemaras today. We're not talking about the yibum of a machzik b'shasa yet. That's going to be today's sugya. Here we want to know if it says the word tumah by a suffix sota. So we want to know if there's a say the word tumah by a suffix sota. That's what we're looking for. So in the pshat world, it is not. It doesn't say anything tumah. But the question was, there's a drash over here. The pasuk over there. This is Parshas Kiseitze, Perek 24. In the beginning of Perek 24, that's where it talks about it. If a man takes a woman and he divorces her, and then she marries somebody else, and then the second husband either divorces her or dies, so then the first husband cannot take her back. And it says that's going to be our Gemara. That's going to be mentioned on our Gemara that we had it also once upon a time. We mentioned it. Then he could take her back. That if she after she was divorced, she didn't marry somebody else. She just had relations with somebody out of marriage, and then he could take her back. It's only some going to learn it into our Gemara, so we'll see that is mentioned in our Gemara according to one shot. But if she married, machlokas here, if it's only Erison or Nesuin, that was machlokas over here, but then she cannot go back to the first husband. And it says, after she was defiled, Hashem is considered an abomination. I think Rabbi Hirsch says, what's the abomination? That if it's going to be mutter to do such a thing, so then there could be such a thing as he'll give her a get, she'll have relations with somebody else, he'll have relations with somebody else, and then they'll get divorced again, go back again. It's going to come hefker. So in order that it shouldn't be such a thing, so therefore That Hashem says not to do. You don't have such a thing. Once you marry somebody else, you can't come back to the first husband anymore. That's the pasuk. There's a drash that some say that the word Achrei Shehu Tamah is not referring to the pasuk Pshat, which says here Machzik B'Shah, so taking back his divorced wife, but we're talking about a kind of a tumah. What's tumah? This is not really tumah. She's really married. It's not a really tumah. To marry somebody else is not called that she's defiled. In the pasuk Pshat it is, but some just say that it's talking about a sota. That a sota, once a husband's wife, if she was defiled, that means that she was mizana in marriage. She's married to him, not the case of the pasuk that he divorced her and then she married somebody else. He did not divorce her and she had relations with somebody. So then she's called a tameh. And that's the case, that's going to be a drasha. The Gemara thinks that it's talking about a suffix sota, that it calls her tameh.
Okay, but I thought we said that it's only a sota vadai.
Right, but the Gemara thought that this pasuk is going to say even a sota suffix. That's what the Gemara thought, because you have a pasuk already for a sota vadai. That's the Gemara's question. Let's see it inside again. The Gemara says,
where we
just chazing yesterday a little bit, then it's on Amud Beis, Rabbi, about 5 lines down. Rabbi Yosef ben Kippur says, whatever he says, the first one on the line is Asher. That even if she marries out only Erison, he cannot take her back anymore. So that's what the word seemed to say, that a sota shenistra, that means that sota that was concealed, in concealment, in seclusion. That means we don't know. And it seems to say that she's called Tameh. So the Gemara is asking. That's going back on before, but Erison is suing. No. He divorced his wife and she didn't have Nesuin, she just had Erison. No. So that the Rabbanan says also usher to take her back. And she's usher to take her back. That's a different subject. And now, what does the pasuk say? The Rabba Sotesh Nistra. The word Sotesh Nistra, the words itself means that she had concealment. She was secluded. That means that's a suffix. We don't know for sure that she was Mazana. It's just a suffix. And it says over here that that's called also Tameh. If it's called Tameh, the most question is that also as far as Yibum goes now, if, back to this, to open up the case again, that a man had a wife, or 2 wives, and one of them was not a Mazana Mamish, we don't know, but she was in seclusion after she was born, she became a Sota, so it seems to say it's called Tameh. And if so, if he dies, she should not have any kind of Yibum relation with her brother, because the pasuk says Tameh. Tameh is like a erva, and then she shouldn't have any obligation of Zika. So the Gemara says this vav is a mistake. I just looked at it, that the vav is a printing mistake, not umay, but just my nishtara nivala. That the pasuk over there, the Gemara doesn't mean to say, the Chacham don't mean to say that it's talking about a suffix sota that we don't know. She only has seclusion. It means sota shenivala, that she actually had relations, which the Gemara right away is going to jump. That's the Perish pasuk. You don't need this fancy drasha to say that it's called Tameh. A woman who had relations out of marriage, she's surely called Tameh. The pasuk says, "V'nistara v'hinitmar." That's a Perish pasuk. My nistara nivala. The Gemara says, and that's Lishna Malya. It's a clean way of talking. But the Gemara says, "Nivala tuma bedik siva v'nistara v'hinitmar." The pasuk says, when you want to talk about a woman who actually had relations that we know for sure, a sota vadai, the pasuk says openly v'hinitmar. So the Gemara says to make him Allah b'lav, that even though it says nitma. And the Gemara said before on Amar Aleph, she's also to Truma, she's also to her husband, she's also needs, but over there it says also to the Boel. That over there is, it says Nitma, it does say Tameh, and she's also. But it doesn't say Beferish that the husband's not allowed to have relations with her, like a Losase. Is it going to be considered Chayv Malchus? If the husband has relations with his wife after she was Mazana? How serious is that? It says you're not allowed to, Asa. Does it mean that it's Mamash Alav? So the Gemara says, L'meikim Allah b'alav. These words here, where is that? To make him a love alav.
To establish a love on her,
that is allowed,
even though she was only Nistra.
Even though, not she was Nivala. We're saying now that doesn't Nistra doesn't mean Nistra. Nistra we changed. Nistra means Nivala.
Even though it's only Nivala, it's only a love.
It's only a love. But not that it's only a love, it's a love. We would have thought that it's less than a love. The pasuk says there's a drasha. There's a drasha to say nitma. It does say nitma already. It says 2 times nitma.
Yeah.
One time that it says nitma, we would have known that she's not allowed to have relations with her husband. She's called Tameh. That the husband should not have relations with her anymore. She has to drink the Mayim Amorma in order to get. But it wouldn't say Beferish, do not have relations with her. If it doesn't say do not have relations, then it's not going to be Chayv Malchus. It's also it's prohibited, but it's not a losase. It's not a negative commandment. Now that it says Lo Yuchal Balo Rishon, it says something with actually that it means the Gabe she was Mazana, a man's wife was Mazana. He's also a losase. He's not allowed relations with her. So we need a pasuk again, more than the one pasuk. Nitma,
to bring on
a losase. Yes, I'm
which is more kamekil. That means if it's not correct.
It's not chorus, but we're going the other way direction now. It's surely not chorus.
Right.
But the chiddush is we didn't even know that it's a lo sase. We knew that it's prohibited, but we didn't know is it a negative commandment. The negative commandment is more. Even if you have a drasha to say that shouldn't do it, it doesn't mean yet that it's a lo sase. It doesn't make it into a negative commandment. If they have relations, it wouldn't be chayv malchus. Now we're saying it's chayv malchus. A man whose wife was mazana, he's not to be with her anymore. And it's a lo sase. If he's going to have relations with her, it's a lo sase. It's chayv malchus. There's a lo sase. So we need another pasuk that says a lo sase. That's as far as we got yesterday. There's really two more lines before the sugi is over, and I didn't say it yesterday because I didn't know how to read it. Rabbi Yosef ben Kippur, lav b'sota lesle. Rabbi Yosef ben Kippur, he doesn't have to have this fancy drasha. He says the pasuk is all talking about machzik grushaso. The pasuk over there where it says that the original husband cannot take her back anymore after she was defiled. He doesn't say it's talking about a sota. He's not saying this drasha. She was defiled because she got married to somebody else. And he doesn't learn that it's talking about machzik grushaso. It's not talking about. It's not. I'm sorry. It doesn't say it's talking about a sota. It's talking about he divorced her. He divorced her, and the regular din the pasuk is talking about. The Gemara throws in a few more words now that make it a little confusing. Bafilu's anoi nami, and even if she was definitely mizana, which is what we're saying now, that even if she was definitely mizana, it's still not a lo sase. Not only a suffix sota, even a vadai sota. Even if she was mamish mizana, there's no lo sase. It says there's a drasha to say that she's prohibited to have relations, but not that it's a lo sase. It's not going to be a negative commandment where there's going to be a chiyuv malchus. And the word says, "My taima havaya v'ishas k'simba." That in the pasuk it talks about the word lihiyos. Havaya is another way of saying lihiyos. Ve'hoisa, a way of saying that she became his. So that's called marriage. And also the word ishos, it says ve'hoisa. What is it? Lashel kachol lo lisha, or it says liyos lo lisha. So that's called marriage. So he says the pasuk is in the simple pshat of the Gemara is just saying that Rabbi Yosef ben Kippur says that it's not talking about a sota, it's talking about that she got married, not a sota that while she was married to somebody, she had relations, she had relations out of marriage. That's not what the pasuk is talking about. It's talking about that she got married to somebody. How did she get married to somebody? The pasuk said that he divorced her and she married somebody. There's difficulty why the Gemara goes out of it. Ishus means, yeah, they call it Isha, and that's a way of saying marriage. That's called marriage. So the pasuk is talking about marriage, is not talking about a sota, and that's a simple pshat. The Akash is why the Gemara has to be so elaborate to say this. Taisha talks about it, but just to read the simple Gemara, that's what it seems to say. Rabbi Yosef ben Kippur doesn't hold it a drasha to take this pasuk in Parashas Kisei that's talking about machzik grushaso, taking back his divorced wife after he divorced her, that she married somebody else. It's Rabbi Yosef ben Kippur wants to leave it like that. He doesn't want to say take this pasuk of hutama to say it's talking about a sota. He says no, it's talking about that she got married to somebody. Lakuchin, what does it say? The Havaya, the Hiyos, and it says the Isha, that's called marriage. So he keeps it to the Pashup Shah. Just to make a point on the side that there's different gears over here, the grove here, there's a little olive over here that they bring down, that there's another gears on the Gemara that talks about what Moshe mentioned before, that the Isser of taking back a wife after he divorced her is only if she got married, but if she didn't get married, even though she was Mazana out of marriage, she was now married, unmarried woman, and she had relations with somebody, it's still mutter for the husband to take her back. And they put that into the Gemara over here. If you see that Sagra, it says, it's talking about a Bala Grusha. That it isn't so much the subject of our Gemara, but it's throwing in that when it says that he's not allowed to take back the woman after he divorced her, only if she got married. She married somebody, then he's not allowed to take her back. But if she did not get married, she just has nus, he is allowed to take her back again. And it happens to be, even according to the way our Gemara says that it might be only in Rabbi Yosef ben Kippur, but that's what the halacha is, and they talk about the Gersa might be that even the Rabbanan are talking, and that's the halacha. We looked it up once we had this subject, I think maybe in Maseches Megillah, where we spoke about that Esther said that till now she was allowed to go back to Mordechai because she was an onus, and now she's not allowed to. So Tais over there talks about that he could have divorced her, and then based on this Gemara, more or less, that he would have been able to take her. More or less, something about that. But
would have divorced her?
Right.
No, I thought that's the case.
Only if she marries somebody, but if it's not marriage, if it's only nurse, so I'm not into the whole sugya, but this is the halacha. It's in Ebenezer Siman Yud. That's what it says on the
even
side.
If she did it willingly, that's
yes, but it's nurse, but she's not a married woman. So it's back to
because
without
it's not
Esther.
Jewish, that's not a marriage.
I think more or less that's what Tosha says, but just to get the halacha that if a man divorced his wife and she married, and then she wants to go back, the second husband died or divorced her, she cannot go back to the first husband. That's a lo sase, that's what the pasuk is talking about. But if she only was Mazana out of marriage,
He wasn't done.
he doesn't make his nus doesn't affect anything. It means that whatever Avera is, and it's an Avera, but it's nothing about breaking the marriage.
Yeah.
But hers nus. So if she was married, if she got married, then she cannot go back to the first husband. If she did not get married, there was nus, he could take her back.
That's why.
And that's in Shulchan Aruch.
That's why what the Hirsch says doesn't make sense. Getting married and married, they just have to have
No, so that's going to, yeah, but that's prohibited. That's prohibited. But that's prohibited. It's not going to be HSH, but it's prohibited. But if there will be like this, it will be a legal loophole that everything's kosher. They get a mamish, a marriage and a divorce, and a marriage and a divorce, and a marriage and a divorce. So that would be like a legal loophole. So the Torah didn't want that legal loophole. I'm not sure if Rabbi Hirsch is the only pshat. If it could be without that reason, but that's the reason that he says. That's the end of that. So end of yesterday's sugya. What's Chayiv Misa?
She was on.
This is, I'm not sure what you're talking about. We're talking about that he divorced her. He divorced her and she had relations out of marriage. So it's not Chayiv Misa.
It wasn't a marriage, but it was.
But it doesn't stop her from getting married again to the same husband. More or less, that's the end of the sugya. But now that we spoke about it, now Leib Yaakov mentioned this before, so we're going into the sugya. New sugya. I wasn't able to highlight most of the sugya that started, but as we go along we can highlight if we want to. Somebody, I have a small chart here, not a fancy chart, but just to get some kind of an idea here. Here's two brothers.
She already got married. She got remarried, and he married her back.
Right, which is not allowed to. That's allowed.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to do this chart so well, but I tried. Here's two brothers. This brother, he had a wife. There's an X in between because he divorced her, and then he married her again. She married somebody else in between,
Yes,
and then he married her again, and then he died.
Mm-hmm.
So here again, he had a wife. He divorced her
And now
and married her again, and then he
she's
died. And she's us. I have to throw in also that she married somebody else in between. That I'm not right. So this was this relationship, where this union was allowed. He's not allowed to take her back.
Mm-hmm.
And now he died. And the question is if she falls to Yibum, and also if the Tzara falls to Yibum. Case is a nice case.
Mm-hmm.
A Chayv Elavin, it's not Chayv Kor, it's a Salav. He's not allowed, he wasn't allowed to have that relationship. And the question is if there's Yibum. After he dies, is the Yibum to the brother? Is the brother obligated, or may he do Yibum or Chalitza to the woman herself? And also we can talk about the Tzara.
Because he married Balaam.
This is right. The marriage was a lo sase. He was not allowed to take her back anymore. That's going to be the whole day today.
Can't do anything with her
Why not?
I don't. I would
because
think so, but I don't know.
This brother was not. The brother was not allowed to marry her.
yeah, once he wasn't allowed to marry her, so then there's this like all bets are off, isn't it?
What is that?
All bets are off because she's usher to him. So
She-
then there's no. It's not like a marriage.
So it is a marriage, even
but
though
it
it's
is a
Chayv Elavin,
marriage.
it's still a marriage. But I think Leib Yaakov is right that surely the brother doesn't get more. The Gemara is going to say this for later on. She's not going to be more mutter than she was to her husband. If there was a lav, if the whole connection to her husband was a lo sase, it's not going to become more mutter to the brother. That's far as true. The Gemara is going to say at the bottom of the
Oh,
page.
but then the question would be chalitza.
But chalitza, but there wouldn't be a reason not to be chalitza because there is an obligation. Just like Chayv Elavin doesn't stop the whole thing. Chayv Krisas is nothing. But Chayv Elavin,
Divorced, doesn't that change everything?
then he married her again.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
the
what makes it
divorce
a lot.
itself, doesn't that make it that's not it's not a Yibum situation?
Again,
But
the husband
she's
married,
married.
divorced his wife. She married somebody else. She got divorced, or he died, and he married her again. He wasn't supposed to, and they're living in sin. But the sin is not a chayv krisa; it's a sin of Allah, below sase. And then he died. And then the question is there a zika of yibum to the live brother? So Leib Yaakov saying a svara without the pasuk, without just a svara that he's not going to be more mutter than his brother was. If his brother wasn't allowed to have relations, he's not allowed. But it's going to be a lobster, but you still would need your chalitza. The Gemara is not going to say this far till the bottom of the page, but we could hold on to it in the refrigerator, not the freezer. Put it in the refrigerator coming up soon, and we'll have that soon. But besides that, the Gemara is going to throw in other svaras, other psukim to talk about is there any kind of chiyuv of yibum over here, and also we're going to talk about the co-wife.
Well, so I'm sort of like I'm a Rebbe Yochanan man, and I would say that whatever she is, that's what the co-wife would be.
I don't think Rabbi Yochanan says it across the board. It's
It's not across the board. Okay.
So that's the subject, and this is the only picture I have for today. This is today's picture, and we could hang it up. I don't know how to keep it posted, but we'll come back to it if we need to. But that's the only picture. What?
Have a little mini printer.
To print it. Okay, I don't know.
They're not so big, some of them.
Oh, we could print it. We have a printer over here, but the question is how to hold it on the screen at the same time. But okay, but yeah, we could print it right now. If you want to pick it up over there, we could pick it up. You can go right here and pick it up if you want to hold on to it. Okay, there it is. And where's the printer? Print. Okay, it'll come out and got it over there. You can pick it up now. Okay. So back to the Gemara. If somebody took back his divorced wife and she married somebody, and then says after she had married somebody, he took her back, and then he died. That's the diagram we have.
Yeah.
So Rosamahu. He doesn't even talk about the woman herself. So Rosamahu. He doesn't talk about her.
What's going to happen to the co-wife?
What's going to happen to the co-wife? Now the Gemara goes back to the Josh we spoke about before. The pasuk talks about a machzik mushaso, and the pasuk in the simple words it says the pasuk that says by taking back a divorced wife, it says that he cannot take her back after she was defiled. Now we said that Rabbi Yosef reads the pasuks on the subject. It's talking about a divorced wife that he takes back, and it's called that she's defiled. If it says the word tuma, so then there's no. It takes off the Hebrew like said in Aleph that tuma ksiva karayas. So according to Rabbi Yosef ben Kippur, it's not a question. I'll leave it to Rabbi Yosef ben Kippur lo tibayla. There's no question. Given the Amar Rabbi Yosef ben Kippur tuma b'machsi gushasu d'chsiva, since he says that the pasuk that says the word tuma is talking about machzik gushasu, so there's no question. The whole thing goes off. There's no yibum at all. Sarasa kamosa, the sarah is the same thing as her, that there's no yibum at all. That's good. The pasuk says achrei shatama. Keep to the pasuk shat. It's talking about divorced woman. It doesn't come out.
I don't see any action in the printer.
Okay.
Might be off.
Okay.
No, that's the light.
So okay, maybe I could do that in the coming days. I could print a couple of if people want it over here. Okay. So he said the pasuk which says in Parshas Kisei that don't take back a divorced wife who got married. It says over there after she became defiled, and he says that we read the pasuk pshat. So therefore, it says tuma. By this case of taking back a divorced wife, it calls it tama. It said there's no yibum. There's no yibum, no chalitza, no nothing, and therefore not only her, the tzara also. There's two lines over here. If it's for the if for the meanwhile we could skip it, we'll come back soon and we'll read it again just to keep the flow. But the question is according to Rabbanan that they said to Darshan that it's not talking about taking back a divorced wife, which is the pasuk shah and the pasuk. They say it's talking about a sota. It's coming to say that there's a losa say for a sota that after she was defiled when she was in marriage, not the case of the pasuk. So then it doesn't say it over there. Since Rabbanan say
Rabbi Yossi ben Kippur, we're through with him because why?
What is that?
He would say what?
He says that it says tuma. It says openly in
It says
pasuk tuma.
so
If it
there's
says
nothing
tuma,
to
everything's
talk
off. There's right. There's no yibum, no nothing for the tzara.
Even for
Everything
the
is off.
Okay.
But according to Rabbanan, that they made the drasha to say the pasuk is talking about a sota. They took it out of the pasuk pshat. And even though the pasuk is talking about machzik gushasa, they said these words are referring to sota. So if so, it doesn't say about machzik gushasa. So there are two stadim. There are two stadim in that. Afagav, one side is to say afagav dam rabbanan tuma b'sota hu d'chsiv, but in rikroysim b'dei pshuto. One side is to say that even though in the drash world that we put it on to a sota, but don't forget the pasuk pshat. The pasuk pshat is still there. Means we're still going to keep on to hold on to the pasuk pshat, even though we're going to make a drasha. In the drasha world, we say it's talking about a sota, but in the pshat, it's talking about a machzik b'shasa. So it does say the word tuma by machzik b'shasa according to them also. Once it's uprooted, once the drasha uproots it, so you don't look at the pasuk pshat, and it's as if it doesn't say the word tuma by machzik b'shasa. Just to sum up what the Gemara says, if we're looking for the word tuma, the fact that it says tuma, that'll knock off the whole issue of yibum by machzik b'shasa. Doesn't say tuma. According to Rabbi Yosef ben Kippur, it says tuma, so there's no question. It surely says tuma. There's no yibum at all. No yibum, no chalitza, no for the tzara, nothing. But according to Rabbanan, the question is that they made a drasha to uproot it from here and say that it's talking about a sota. They took it out of the pasuk pshat. So do you still say that the pasuk pshat still holds good, and therefore it's as if it does say tuma? And the whole issue of Yibum is off, like a Besem and Kippur, or no, that they say that only the drash, don't look at the pshat at all, we're just going to dash in the drash, and it's as if it doesn't say the word Tumah as far as Machzik Rishasa, and over here, there is going to be an obligation of Yibum.
The Dilma Kevan de Ikar means
The Iker, lesson of Oker. Oker means to uproot. Since it's been uprooted, it's uprooted. Not the word Iker, but Akar. Akar is to uproot. Since it's been uprooted, it's been uprooted. Once it was uprooted to the drash world, so it's taken out of over here.
Also for the Torah.
Yeah, there's nothing. No, the other way. The Yaker, So as if it doesn't say Tuma. Does not say Tuma over here. So then there is going to be a Yibum. And even to the woman herself, there'll be Chalitza at least.
Since it was uprooted and she has no shaykhs.
The pasuk doesn't say Tuma over here. It doesn't say Tuma about Machzik Rishasa. It doesn't not say the word Tuma. We're talking about the word Tuma. It says Achrehu Ashehu Tama. I should have put it on the screen. The pasuk. It says over there Achrehu Ashehu Tama. Does you leave it in the pasuk pshat that it's talking about Machzik Rishasa? So that's what the pasuk is talking about, like the simple pshat. Or once the drash takes it out of here and says it's talking about Sota. It's not talking about Machzik Rishasa. It's talking about if she had relations in the marriage. So then it doesn't. It doesn't say it. It's as if you cut and paste. Do you copy and paste or do you cut and paste? That's the question. When you think, we're saying that pasuk Achrei Hashem Tama, we're putting it onto a sota. Is that copy and paste? But we still leave it over here also. And the pasuk pshat, that's what it says. So it says Tuma b'masik rishasa. Or do you cut and paste and you cut it out of here and put it over there, and it's not here at all? The question is, according to Abana, there's the word Tuma still written by the parsha of Masik Rishasa. It's good, Chaim David? Not so good. We're talking about Masik Rishasa. There's such a thing called Masik Rishasa. And we want to know, and the case we want to know about that, he died. And the question is if there's Yibum to the brother. It depends if it says the word Tumah or not. If it says Tumah, so then there's no Yibum. Everything is off. If it doesn't say Tumah, then it's on. So is it here or not? According to Beis Kippur, he says that it's, you read the pasuk. That's what it says. It says Tumah over here. According to Rabbana, they made a drash to say Tumah is Sota. So maybe it's not here anymore. Or maybe it still is here.
This or that.
Others have a different Ikadamri. I stopped highlighting it. We can start it again. Ikadamri, the other version of the question is that according to Rabbanan, it surely does not say it over here. It surely does not say it over here. No, there's no question that since it was uprooted, it's uprooted, and it's not here. It doesn't say the word Tumah, so there is a obligation of Yibum over here. But according to Beis Kippur, that's what we do have a question. Even though he says that it says openly in the pasuk Tumah, so l'chor there's no question. If it says Tumah, so then there's no din of Yibum. That's what happens. That the word Tumah takes us out of Yibum. It's like Arias. So what's the question? The question is, even though he says that the pasuk does say Tumah, so l'chora, if it says Tumah, so then there's no din of Yibum. It takes off the whole din of Yibum. Mi'et rachmana hi to'eva. It says in the pasuk, it says he should not keep, the first husband cannot take her back again after he divorced her, after she was defiled, because she is an abomination before Hashem. You might have said the Pashup Shad is that this act is an abomination, but we're going to learn that it means that she's an abomination. This woman is an abomination to take her back. But the fact that it says Kito Eva he, it doesn't just say Kito Eva Lefnei Hashem, that it's an abomination. Kito Eva he. So there's going to be a drash that it's coming to be memorialized, something, it's coming to exclude, that something's not a Toeva. And that might be the drasha to say that maybe the Tzora, that she's a Toeva, but the Tzora is not. Means even though the pasuk says that this is considered an abomination, it's considered tumah and everything, that's only as far as the woman herself. But how about the tzara? How about the co-wife? Maybe the pasuk is coming to say that ein serasa toeva, and therefore there is an obligation of yibum and chalitza to the co-wife. Or maybe the drasha goes a little different. It does say the word he. Maybe the pasuk of he is coming to exclude that the children, if someone does take his divorced wife and they have children afterwards, what's the din of the children? Are the children kosher or mamish? Or maybe if she's not supposed to marry a Kohen, sometimes it's considered a blemish on the child that's born and the asa to marry a Kohen. So maybe that's what it's coming to say, but it's not coming to say that the tzara is excluded. The hatzara toeva, maybe the tzara is included in the tumah that it says, and there's no obligation of
the children wouldn't be toeva, but the tzara
would be right. Not that you need a pasuk for that. Just saying the pasuk is not coming to exclude that. The pasuk is only coming to exclude the woman herself.
It's coming to exclude something.
Right.
We're not sure. Is it the tzara
or something else? Right. And if it's the children, then it's not coming to exclude her. It's not coming to exclude the tzara. So then the
children has nothing to do with Yibum.
Right. That's something else. Thing. Right. But there's not going to be any pasuk to say that the tzara is excluded. If the tzara is not excluded, then she's also out of the parsha of Yibum because it says the word tumah. There is tumah over there. So those are the Gemara's questions. There's a Rabbanan and a Beis Kippur. That's where we started with. And the question was, who are we asking according to? That's the thing just to point out the two studim, the two factors that we're juggling with. One is that doesn't say tumah over there. In the parsha of Masik Rushasa doesn't say tumah. That's one thing, one factor to talk about. Rabbanan and Beis Kippur, Pshat, Drash. The other thing to talk about, it says to Evahi, maybe that's coming to exclude that maybe the tzara, even if it says to him over there, maybe the tzara is excluded, the co-wife, and over there is going to be Yibam and Chalitza to the
Where does it
co-wife.
say Toeva?
Toeva over there, the Masik Rishasa, I would have, it was a mistake. By Masik Rishasa,
does say
it
Toeva.
does say the word Toeva, but it says Toeva. Maybe that word he is coming to exclude
Toeva,
something.
to
She
exclude
is.
something.
And something's not. That's the question. So the main question we're talking about is just the title of today's subject is Masik Rishasa, that died. What's the din of Yibum to the wife and to the co-wife?
Is sota and impure synonymous?
Not always. That the asota is one kind of impurity, but here it's talking about taking back a wife that was divorced and married somebody else, and then got divorced from him and wants to go back to the first husband. That's also called a kind of a defilement. It's not as much of it. It's not as bad as a woman who marries, who has relations out of marriage, that she's married to somebody. But here, it's also called, as far as the first husband is concerned, it's considered that she was defiled because she married somebody else. So it's also called the word tumah. So that's the first question. So now I want to look out to get proof of this question. Amalei Tinisua. Who asked the question? We learned the Mishnah. Is a Mishnah, we could bring a proof from a Mishnah. Who's asking, who's speaking to who? All this was reviewed the answer of Sheshes. And now Sheshes is going to bring a right from a Mishnah. Tinisua. It says in the Mishnah, it's a pretty vague Mishnah, but it says, the live brother, his brother died. That's the whole case of Yibum, and he has two wives. The words that say one is kosher, one of the wives is kosher, one of the wives is pasul. Those are the words. It doesn't say exactly what the case is.
That's the end of the quote.
No. That's highlighted over here. That's the whole quotation. If there's two wives of the dead husband, one of them is kosher, one of them is pasul. One of them is, I don't know what that means yet. What does it mean, kosher and pasul? What does that mean? What's the problem? But whatever that means, if he's going to do chalitza, he should do chalitza to the pasul one. If he's going to do yibum, he should do yibum to the kosher one. That's the formula that the Mishnah says. If two wives fall to somebody to yibum, one is kosher, one is pasul. If he does chalitza, do chalitza to the pasul one. If you do yibum to the kosher one. What does that mean? Now the Gemara is going to analyze the Mishnah. Mike Sher.
You want to do yibum to one that's kosher, not to.
That's what it says.
So we'll see. Okay. So what does kosher mean? What does it mean? Mike Sher Mike Psula. What is the case here? What is the kosher and pasul over here? Ilim Ksher Alma Psula Alma. The word alma means to the world, to everybody. If she's kosher, means kosher to everybody, and pasul means pasul to everybody. Rashi says we're talking about the kahuna, that the word kosher and pasul sometimes means is a mutter for this woman to be married to a kohen. So if these brothers are not kohanim, she happens to be, let's say, a divorced woman. A divorced woman is usher to a kohen. That's the case of a pasul. Let's say she's been divorced in the past. Right now, her husband died, but she could have been from an earlier marriage. It could have had been divorced. Yeah. So, if that's the case, that kosher means is kosher to kohanim, and pasul means is pasul to kohanim. But he's not a kohen. These brothers, that one of them died, that one of them is the miyabim now. They're not kohanim. So why can't he marry her? Chazia, since she's fitting to him. Yeah, so what's the problem? What's the problem? Let him marry. She's been divorced once before, and then she got married to his brother, and he died. So why can't he marry her? Why should he take the? It says if he chooses to do yibum, we should take the one who is kosher to kahuna. Why can't he take the one that pasul to kahuna? He's not a kohen. If he's not a kohen, he can marry somebody that was divorced. What's the problem?
Take her tzara.
There's no tzaras over here. Both of there's you could call it a tzara. There's the one kosher, one pasul. Till now we spoke about that. One of them is like the earmark. She's the erva, and the other one is the tzara. Exactly. But here, both of them, two wives. It's one case. Two wives. A brother died. She had two wives. One of them is a divorced woman from history. Historically, divorced had been divorced from before. In the first marriage, this is already his second marriage. Yeah. So in the first marriage, she was divorced. She married the brother. He also had another wife that was never divorced, and then he died. Now it says if he chooses to do yibum, he should take the one that's never divorced. Why? He's not a kohen. What's the problem? He wants to take the one that was once divorced. What's the problem? That's the one it doesn't understand. What?
Okay.
Are you happy with that?
He's not a
He's not a kohen. His brother's not a no kohen here.
Nobody was a kohen.
His brother's not a kohen. He was not a kohen. Everything's fine.
Kasher
Kosher means she's kosher to marry a kohen. She's a woman that was never
Kosher
divorced.
to marry. a
She's
Kohen. But
she's
she
wanted to
didn't
marry a Kohen. She didn't marry a Kohen.
Oh, okay.
So if the kosher apostle means to the world means to the Kohanim, so what's the difference if she's apostle to a Kohen? He's not a Kohen, so he can marry her. Elulav, ksherik ksherolei, psula psulalei. It must mean not the question to the world. It must mean that it's kosher apostle to the dead brother. The brother who married her, if she was allowed to marry the dead brother, that's what kosher apostle means. And now the Gemara is trying to figure out what is that case that it's only usher to the brother, it wasn't usher to anybody else.
Oh, so we're gonna have another, some Cohen did something he shouldn't have done.
Not Dafka, but the Gemara is going to say that not a Kohen. The Gemara is saying nothing to do with a Kohen anymore.
Oh,
If you
no.
say it's not talking about Pasal Alma, Kosher Alma, then it could be something personal about him. Some reason why his brother was not allowed to marry her. Why was his brother not allowed to marry her? Anybody else was allowed to marry her? Mind you, Masik Rushaso. The case was that his brother took back his divorced wife. It was possible for him.
Oh.
It wasn't possible for anybody else. Only possible for him. The Gemara thinks that's what the case is going to be talking about. And if so, what does it say? That if he chooses to do chalitza, he should do chalitza to the puzzle one, to that woman who was divorced, the Masik Rushasa, the one who was divorced and taken back again. If he chooses to do yibum, he should take the other wife,
The one that
the one that was a co-wife. Again, I'll put on the screen a second, just to hold the cup, as they say. Here's the picture again.
Oh, he should take the, I mean.
This is
that
the-
means that
this is the
he would-
picture.
He would do Yibum to her then.
To who? To the co-wife.
her.
To the co-wife. He might. So the Gemara had this. The Gemara thinks that this is. It doesn't say beferish. It says kosher apostle, but the Gemara is trying to limit it, trying to close in that this is the case that the Brisa is talking about. The Mishnah. If the brother had two wives, a kosher one and an apostle one, not a Gemara says it doesn't have nothing to do with kosher to Kohen. It means it was a mutter to the brother. So this one was also to the brother because he was mashik gushasa. He wasn't allowed to marry her because he had divorced her, and this one is kosher. Now it says now that he died, if he chooses to do chalitza, he should do chalitza to the apostle one.
Uh-huh.
If he chooses to do yibum, he should do yibum to the kosher one.
But
So
that's a
th-
kiddush that we didn't think.
So we didn't know. We had choices. We had maybe there's no yibum,
Oh,
maybe everything is
there's
off.
no-
Maybe it says tumah. If it says tumah, everything is off. Maybe even though it says tumah, maybe the tzara is still on because maybe say to'eva he, but the tzara is not a to'eva. We had all these possibilities.
So this is a possibility that it meant this.
There's a possibility that it meant it. That if it means this, then it means that the wife does need chalitza, but there is a zika. Both of them, there
There's
is
a
an
zika,
obligation.
and
But
he has a choice
to
of
the
doing
woman
yibum or chalitza.
and to the tzara, he could even do yibum. To the woman herself, he only could do chalitza, not yibum.
Uh-huh.
That's what it seems to say. What are you saying? What are you saying?
This is the fear Chachamim, not the fear of Yosef.
No, the Gemara decided even according to Yosef and Kippur, does it say tumah? Doesn't say tumah. The Gemara didn't know. The Gemara said maybe yes, maybe not. If it says tumah, then
It was Dorish.
but the Gemara had a tzad. But the Gemara said it's tzad that even though it says, how does it go again? What did the Gemara say? That according to Yosef and Kippur, that even though it says,
We said, oh, Dilman, both of them. We said,
and how did the Gemara go over there?
for Yosef.
I have to look at the Gemara again. That Hito Eva.
Avocado.
That it's true, even though it says tumah. You're right. Even though it says tumah according to Yosef and Kippur, but maybe the tzara doesn't. It's not going to. The he is going to permit. But
extra he.
right. But you are right that this part that it says that the tzara herself, the woman herself, Masik Gushasa herself, the Gusha herself. Here it doesn't say that there's tumah. If there'd be tumah, then there'd be no din at her at all. There will be that the woman herself is nothing, no chalitza, no yibum, and only to the tzara there's chalitza and yibum. So you're right that the Gemara is narrowing it down. The Brisa seems to say this. The Brisa seems to say, according to somebody at least, that the woman herself there's chalitza, and to the co-wife there's yibum.
Right. Obviously, if he does chalitza on the sula, he can't do yibum on the.
Yeah. There's only one of the two. Only one of the two. But here's either one of the two.
Or knock off the.
So the Gemara thinks that's what it says. Mind you, Masik Rusha. So that means that there is something on the tzara that don't say that the tzara is out of the picture and it's considered tumah. So this much you do see. The Gemara says maybe not. Maybe it doesn't say anything about Masik Rusha. So low. Maybe not. La'olam kshera kshera alma psula alma. That maybe leave it the way we thought. That maybe means nothing to do with Masik Rishas. It's not talking about Masik Rishas at all. It means is she kosher to Kohanim? Is she puzzle to Kohanim? As if to say the case was she was divorced. We said the case she was once divorced, then she married the brother, and then he died. So it says for some reason that if you want to do yibum, you could miyabim the kshera. You also the Gemara means to say, and now you can yabim the psul also. It doesn't mean to say that if you want to do yibum, you can't marry the. Of course you could. Why not? You're allowed to marry a divorced woman.
We're talking about Kohanim brothers.
Right. No, they're not. No, they're not Kohanim. They're not Kohanim.
I thought they're Kohanim brothers, and
No.
he married a
No,
divorced
no.
woman, which he shouldn't have.
No,
and
no,
that would
and
only
it's
be
not
allowed.
that, no, we said that, but the more I
No.
asked, why not marry her? That you can't ask why not marry her if she's a grusha, if she's divorced, you can say marry her. They're not Kohanim. We're just talking
Why is
about,
he not?
she has a label that she's possible to a Kohen because she wants to, was by the time divorced. So right now, she married somebody who's not a Kohen, his brother's not a Kohen. The two brothers are not Kohanim.
Okay.
And the Raisa seem to say that if you're going to do Yibum, marry the kosher one. And the more than
Aren't they both kosher?
she's not they're kosher to him, but they're not kosher to Kohen. One of them was a
Oh, married
divorced
the
woman.
kosher one, the
Using
one
that as
that
a
wasn't
The
divorced.
one that was not divorced. And don't marry the one.
Uh-huh.
So why not? That doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Why should he not? Why should he not marry the one that's not kosher
So
to
why shouldn't
Kohen?
he marry?
Right. So the one is saying he could marry him.
Which
When
one?
he could marry whichever one he wants,
What do you think?
because it just means to say that in this case he can marry either one. But if he's going to do chalitza, the main point of the Bryce is that Mishnah is to say if he's going to do chalitza, don't do it to the kosher one.
Right.
Why?
Why not?
She's not blemished in any way. She never,
And therefore,
so.
Oh,
Therefore, don't marry
because
her.
of- no,
Come on,
because the
chalitza,
Kohen
what's the
can marry
chalitza?
her.
The chalitza.
and therefore,
If he did chalitza, Kohen couldn't marry her.
so therefore, don't
Now
mess her,
she's
don't
gonna-
mess her up.
Don't mess her up. Yeah.
That if that's maybe what you were leading to, that if she was never divorced and she could marry a Kohen, and you can do chalitza, so do chalitza to the one who anyway can marry a Kohen. Or else you're taking away prospective
Or, yeah.
women for the
So
Kohanim.
be concerned with the Kohanim.
You want to, what I want to make, like the Gemara say very beautifully, with the Karmit, Chivin, the Chalidei, Chazimai, Nafkalamina, you said, what's the problem? And the Gemara thought that it means that let him marry the one that's not, that's possible. Of course he could. Mishum de Rav Yosef. Dam Rav Yosef, Kanchan Rebbe, Lo Ish B'chod, Mei Boro, V'achem Tzrichem Lahem. Don't spill out your water that you don't need if somebody else does need it. That means if you have something to throw out in the garbage, but first think if anybody else could use it. I can't use it, but somebody else might use it. So why throw it out? Don't spill out your wastewater if somebody else could use it. So that's the way the Gemara is saying that to you it doesn't make a difference. You want to give chalitza. It doesn't make a difference to you to which one you're going to give chalitza to. So don't mess it up for other people. Give chalitza to the one who anyway is a divorced woman and she can marry a Kohen anyway. But don't mess up the woman who's never divorced, because why make her puzzle to the Kohen? She might want to marry a Kohen one day and you're going to mess her up. So you want to do chalitza, so do chalitza to the one who anyway is puzzled to Kohen. So you're not messing anybody up. But-
What is the Shana?
Kan Shana Rebbe, here Rebbe
What
taught.
is Shana? Oh,
Shana,
taught.
here Rebbe
Here
taught.
Rebbe taught.
This is the way that Rebbe taught this Yisod.
Oh, Rav Yosef said, this is what Rebbe.
This is Rebbe taught this Yisod. Lo yishba chodam mevoro v'achem tzrichem. Don't spill out your waters, even if you don't need it, if somebody else could use it. So here, don't make your chalutza. If this is a very practical lesson, that you have something that you don't need, don't throw it out. If somebody else could use it, give it to the gemach. Put it outside. Don't put it into the garbage. Put it outside the garbage room that somebody else might take it.
Because don't be chalitz the kshera, because she's good for a Kohen.
Right. So why mess her up for
Yeah,
nothing?
don't mess her up.
And it's not coming to say that you want to marry the kosher one, only marry the kosher one. It means if you want to marry even the kosher one. That's what it means. It doesn't mean marry only the you're not a kohen. You can marry either one. But if you want to divorce, you want to chalitza one of them, do a chalitza dafka to the one who anyway is possible to the kohen, not to waste.
Did you do the Tashmaya?
No, that's what up to now.
Oh, I thought maybe there's going to be a sequel. It's not.
So far, we tried to bring a proof, and we rejected the proof. Now we're going to try to bring another proof.
Oh,
The first proof didn't work. We tried to bring a proof that it says that we thought that it says over here about a masik grusha. So when it says that to the co-wife, you could do yibum chalitza. That's what we thought it says. But now we say it doesn't say that. It's talking about the regular. It's not the masik grusha said.
oh, this was like a side thing.
We tried to bring it in, and we tossed it out.
Okay.
Tashma. Now we're back to the question. Masik grusha about the wife herself, about the co-wife, Rabbanan, Rabbi Yosef Kippur, Toeva, Tuma. All these questions coming in back on the stage. So Tashma. Masik grusha Mishin says, Mamash. This is our case. That's what we're looking for. We found it. We found the case. Masik grusha Mishin says.
Is this a brisa?
It's a brisa, and it says that if somebody took back his divorced wife after she was married, that's allowed. That's the case we want to know, and he died. Mamash, our case. We hit the jackpot. This is what we're looking for. What does it say? He v'tzarvasa choletzes. The words of the brisa say she and the co-wife do chalitza. So first of all, you can't take it literally because you don't do chalitza to both of them.
Right.
He v'tzarvasa sakadaita. You think
Either this one or
right? Elaima oh he otzarvasa. So you must fix it up and say either one. Either one can get chalitza. So the Gemara thinks that it has a proof that it says that both of them do chalitza, not yibum. Both of them do chalitza. So that was we talked about her, about the co-wife. So here it says that both of them, there is a secret to both of them. Both of them are in the parsha. You don't say that it says tuma. There is a din of, but it does say that both of them should not do the yibum chalitza. So we have an answer to our question. I don't know if that was one of the choices that we had in the question, but that's what it says here. That both of them do chalitza. Either one could do chalitza, but no yibum. That's what it seems to say about this halacha.
I was saying that you should do it because of the law.
No, but period.
Because
Ella,
the husband
oh,
was
he
a-
also
was
was
a
a-
law.
What is that?
Because his relation with his wife is a law.
You're saying there's story said the whole time that since the brother was not allowed to marry, so that's not going to make permission for the brother to marry more than his brother was allowed to.
Yeah.
And also the tzara also. You want to put it onto the tzara also, that the tzara also is not allowed to do even to the tzara either. That's what the Brisa seems to say, that both that woman that he was not allowed to marry and also the co-wife, both of them, there is a possibility of chalitza. There has to be chalitza, but no yibum. That's what the Brisa seems to say. But the Gemara rejects this also. Because anyway, you're not saying the words. You're fixing it up. The way it says literally, you can't read it, so you have to fix it up. If you have to fix it up, I can fix it up differently. Are you not answering the brisa? Means you're fixing up the brisa. You're doing shiputzim on the brisa. It doesn't say that. You're filling in
What we
words.
just said.
So it doesn't matter.
really say-
Originally it says he b'tzavasa. The words were, try to highlight it. The words
Him
were
and her
he
and the co-wife
b'tzavasa-
do chalitza.
right.
But
Both
we
of them.
fixed it up saying
fixed
it's
it up.
this or that.
Right. So
It doesn't
if you
really
fix
say that. It
it doesn't
says
say
this
that.
and that, but
Right.
above can be and or can.
Not. The Gemara is looking at it like you have to do
It
shiputzim.
had to be.
You have to be, how do you say, renovations. You have to do surgery over here. If you have to do
Okay.
surgery, I'll do a different surgery. Means
Okay.
you can't prove to me that that's what it says.
Okay.
Teritz hachi, answer it up like this means explain it this way. I can read the brisa
We can
differently.
read it this way.
Since anyway you have to do surgery, so this is the surgery. It means you can't prove anything. Maybe it says he choletzes, sarasa or choletzes, almost your behemoth. He but sarasa choletzes is a mistake. The way it's quoted is a mistake. So maybe the way it's supposed to really have read is that the woman herself is choletzes. This means that much we do give in. That it does say something about the woman herself doing something. So that means at least chalitza. The woman that, so not that she's nothing. You don't say tum over there. We're going to say that there is a necessity to do at least chalitza. But sarasa, maybe over there she could do even also. We're not going to prove in this brisa as if it says beferish that there's only chalitza. Maybe to the co-wife there could be even also.
Well, that's a pretty big shiputz, I think.
Okay, you say that the other one is a small shifutz. This is a big shifutz. I hear. Okay, that's what.
Because you're saying he, the tzorta, choletzet. So now the choletzet is going on the he.
But
And the
sarasa,
tzorta is either way, whatever.
and
you want.
then you have to stick in more words.
Yeah.
That's more than just sticking in o. Agree. Okay.
היא חולצת, צרתה,
He choletzes, comma.
כמה.
Sarasa, o choletzes almost yabemis. But the Sarah has a choice. She can do even also.
Oh. I see.
Now the Gemara starts all over again. It's going to be now. It should run. Once we have got the first Gemara, the Gemara is going to continue with the same sugya over again. Different names of people. Rabbi Yochanan. Until now we had Rav Yehuda, Rav Sheshes. They're the ones who discussed it. And the Gemara is going to bring in the same question, but a different svara. Now the Gemara is going to bring in Leib Yaakov's svara. The Gemara is Leib Yaakov said as far at the beginning of the day that until now we spoke about Tuma. Does it say Tuma or not? Does it say To'eva he? That was what the Gemara was juggling around. The Yevamos and Kippur, the Rabbanan. We had two factors that we were juggling with. One is does it say Tuma? That's the reason that it would knock off any kind of Yibum B'chalitza. There's another svara to say that even though it says Tuma, but it says To'eva he, maybe knocks off the Tzara. Now the Gemara is going to bring another svara that without any psukim, that maybe the fact that the brother was not allowed to marry, that's the reason why
His brother.
the brother also cannot marry her. Maybe Chalitza, yes, but Yibum not, because he can't be more with her than the brother was. And maybe it applies to the Tzara also. There's also a question that maybe the surely applies to the woman herself, that he can't be more with her than his brother was. But the question is, that you say that for the Tzara also. Now the Gemara is only going to juggle with Leib Yaakov's Farah, without any psukim about Tumah and Toeva.
What would they have done without Leib Yaakov?
We would have then only attributed to Rav Yochanan. Now we have that Leib Yaakov also said it. Amar Rav Chia bar Abba. Rav Chia bar Abba said, Rav Yochanan asked the following question. Mamash the same question as that before. Same question. It doesn't talk about her. It talks about the tzara. Is the tzara mutter if the co-wife was a divorced wife that was taken back again? Same question as we had the whole time. But now he has different svaras to work with. Amalei, Rabbi Ami said to, I guess, Rav Chia bar Abba, gufa. Why talk about Sarasa? Why don't you talk about the woman herself? Perhaps ask a question about her also. Is she need chalitza or yibum? He gufalo kami boili. Her herself, there's no question. Tamina kal v'chomer, because we say a kal v'chomer, which is Lev Yaakov's kal v'chomer. The mutila, this little fancier way the Gemara says it. The mutila asura or nesra, but asura lo kolchkein. If her husband, who she was mutter to, she became usher because of this point that she was divorced and married again. So the one who she was usher to the whole time, surely she's not going to become mutter. Another way of saying that she doesn't, that the brother cannot be more mutter than his brother was. If the whole reason why the brother comes into the picture is because it's his wife, his brother's wife, he's doing yibum. If the brother was not allowed to marry, so he surely is not allowed to marry. He's not going to be more mutter than his brother. So that's why on the wife herself, on the wife that he was not allowed to marry, surely he doesn't do yibum. Chalitza, yes, but no yibum.
But mutter la asura means that
The brother,
from the outset, he could marry her without a problem.
he
And now he's a-
was married to her. The brother was married to her. He was fine once upon a time.
in history.
Yes. Then she became usher. Why she
And now
became
she's
usher?
usher because she married somebody else.
So if
So
the one she was
if
mutter to,
he is usher and she was mutter to him
and
once
if she
upon a
became
time,
usher,
then how can he
how could the brother be more mutter than that?
be more mutter than that since
Since his whole connection is only through the brother, that's what the Gemara means. That since his whole connection to the whole story here is only because he wants to take over for his brother, but his brother was usher to marry her. So he can't be more mutter than that.
right?
So therefore, there's surely no yibum. Chalitza, yes, there's going to be chalitza. According to this is as far only to knock off yibum. It's not as far to knock off chalitza. But this will say that I know for sure that she can only have to do chalitza. But the question is on the co-wife. Ki kami boilitza rasa vai. Mi olam kal v'chomer lemitchitza rolo. Does this kal v'chomer even take it over to the co-wife also? That not only should he not to marry the woman herself, but also it's as far why he shouldn't be able to marry the co-wife
What's
also.
a
Alim, strong.
Oh, strong. Is it a strong?
Today they call it alimut. You heard about the word alimut?
Yeah.
That means
What does it mean?
strong. They're talking about fighting. They're talking about alimut, not to do it with strength of muscles. So is it kal v'chomer strong enough to be able to push off the sorrow also? Or no, only pushes off the wife. It doesn't push off the woman herself who's the Isser, but doesn't push off the co-wife. That's one version of the question of Rabbi Yochanan. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Masni
Is it strong enough?
to push away the sorrow, that not to be able to do yibum. Is the svara that you said that brother cannot
Oh,
be more
this is for
mutter
that girl, but what about this
the
co-wife?
co-wife? So maybe it
Okay.
pushes off the co-wife also. No, don't even only
Yeah.
chalitza to the co-wife. That's one version of Rabbi Yochanan's question. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Masni Hachi. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak has the following version about the question we just spoke about. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Here it goes. We'll highlight this also. Hamasik Rishosam Mishnisa Ismahu. You see the difference between the two versions? The first version was Hamasik Musa Mishnisa Sarasa Mahu. Here it doesn't have the word Sarasa. Here it has the word Mahu. That he's asking about the woman herself. He's not asking about the Sarah. So how come? In the first version, we said that she's not a question. Surely the Sfara knocks her off, that he cannot. This Sfara says he cannot be more mutter than the brother, than the brother was, that was Pashat that in the first version.
Okay.
But according to this version, we're asking on the woman herself and not asking about the Sarah. Rabbi asked to Rabbi Abba, why not ask about the Sarah? So he says, that's not a question. The low olam kal v'chomer lemitchit tzara. According to this version, it's pashat that this far is not going to push away the tzara. It's only as far to push away the wife, the woman herself, the grusha herself. Elaki kami boili hi gufa. But I did have a question about her herself. Is Leib Yaakov's fara true? Mi'olam kal v'chomer b'makam mitzvah lo. Is this fara enough to override the mitzvah of yibum? Means it's a fara. You're saying that lo mislaber that he's going to be more mutter than his brother is. But that's not so simple.
And right now, the Tsarasa, we're saying
It's not surely mutter. She could do yibum.
he could do you.
She could do yibum.
He could
But
do
on the co-wife, but on her, maybe even her he could do yibum. Maybe only chalitza, maybe even yibum. This is how he and now the Gemara is going to bring. Now the rest of the Gemara flows because we had it already.
This is the way to explain the way Rabbi Yochanan asked the question.
Right. This is what and nothing to do with the first Gemara about Tumah with the Evahi. As far this far alone, and it seems in this Gemara that the show is going to be chalitza. The question is, do you even have yibum? And now we bring back the same. This is all repeat of what we had before. Already, this is going to be copy and paste what the Gemara thought in the beginning.
Okay, here we go.
It says, highlighted. This was the mission we had before. It's all the same. This is going to be the same now. That it says, if the two women fault him to yibum, his brother had two wives. If he chooses to do chalitza to the non-kosher one. If one is kosher, one is puzzle, and if he chooses to do yibum to the kosher one. And again, what does all this mean? we forgot what we said before. We started all over again. Mike Sher, my psula. What's the case over here? What's kosher? What's puzzle? Does it mean to Kohanim that one was divorced once upon a time, one was not? But these people are not Kohanim. The two brothers, the brother who died, the brothers alive, they're not Kohanim.
Yeah.
So what's the problem? Let him marry the one who was divorced. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Since she's mutter to him, so why should he not marry her? The words must mean not that it's kosher puzzle to Kohen. It means that the personal problem that the brother had, he was not allowed to marry her. Why not? Because it was Masik Rushasa. Elolav, to the brother. What's the case? So that the brother was not allowed to marry her, but it's his personal problem. And now the question is, what does the brother do? So two women fall to him. His brothers divorced the wife who was taken back, that he wasn't supposed to, and also another wife. It says that if he wants to do Yibum, he could take do Yibum to the one who was not divorced. That answers part of the question, right? We had a question: does the spara of that it's not going to be more mutter than it was to the brother? It doesn't follow on to the tzara. That was the Morris first question. Does it follow on? Does it follow on to the tzara? You see, it doesn't. He's allowed to do Yibum. You also see that he's not allowed to do Yibum to the wife. You see both questions. It answers both of the versions. You see that the co-wife is allowed to be Yibum, and to the wife herself, there's not allowed to be Yibum. But again, the Gemara knocks it off the same way we did already before. Lo, it doesn't mean that. Shera la alma, psula alma. It means is she kosher to Kohanim, and they're not Kohanim. So the question was, what's the problem? With the problem is, if you're right, if he wants to marry, you can marry even the Kesher. You can marry both of them. No difference. Even the Kesher, even the Psul, everything. But the point is that if he wants to do Chalitza, don't mess it up for other people. Like if Yosef says, Amar Yosef Kanchan Rebbe, Lo Yishbach Adam Eibor V'Achem Tzrichim Lahem. So it's nothing to do with us. The Gemara rejected the proof. It's not talking about Masik Rishaso. It's talking about Kohanim. Nothing to do with our subject. So we didn't find the proof yet. Now also the copy and paste still continues. Tashma Hamasik Rishaso Mishenises. He would say Rasa Choletzes. Right, that's the words we brought. The words themselves don't make sense the way it says it. They're both of them do chalitza. You surely don't both of them doing chalitza. Only one of them. There's no such din to do chalitza to both. So it says that both of them have chalitza. That this svara that he can marry, this svara applies to both of them. It applies to the woman, applies to the tzara. That there's no yibum, only chalitza. But the Gemara is not impressed. He did renovations. He did shiputzim. So it doesn't say that. Maybe the way he's supposed to read it is like this. So it's true that she herself cannot do because of the svara we said that it can't be more mutter than the brother was allowed to. But as far as the svara goes, we don't know. You can read it two ways. The way it says it anyway, you can't read it. So you have to fix it up. If you have to fix it up, we don't know how to fix it up. Either it means she does chalitza also, the tzara also only is to chalitza, or it means she can do whatever, she can do either way. So that's as far as we get for today, even though we're
so the last part here was a he who lets it.
Sarasa. No, he choletzes, comma. But sarasa, choletzes almost yebemes.
Oh, well, yeah.
Same. If you look before, you'll see the same thing before.
So what do we learn new in this last? Is it a Bryson?
It's not, we don't learn anything new now because it comes out as the same. It was
What is this learning for?
No, it was just, because there's a different question over here. The question was different. The Rabbi Yochanan, we said two versions in the question. First, the Gemara had issues about the pasuk Tameya. That it says Tamei, what is that referring to? And then the Gemara said to Evahi, that was in the till there. Yeah.
So right now, we're really like 2 blocks behind.
Yes. Yes. Well, Be'ez Hashem will catch
I'm
up.
just saying.
Well,
Yeah.
this was
Today's
Shabbos.
daf Yud Gimel. We just started now.
Yeah, we should have.
Yud base would have been Shabbos, and today would have been
You'd give them.
Yud Gimel.
Right.
Mhm.
So we just started Yud Aleph, and we should have. We started Yud Beis now. We just started Yud Beis.
And
We should have finished Yud Gimel already.
Okay.
We should have finished Yud Gimel today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Today's daf Yud Gimel.
That's it.
We just touched on Yud Beis.
Okay.
Okay, we'll be on in a few minutes with Pirkei Avos.
Oh, you're not going?
There's no place to go because you have to leave 7 o'clock in order to be there. You
Yeah.
have to have left a long time ago. So I asked Rabbi Varma, so he said not to. If the people are learning, so and they're not going to go anyway.
Okay.
So he said
There
not
is
to
a
go.
link that.
Yeah, so